Alright, welcome back to the channel. Warhammer Man back in the studio, and today we're going to be taking a look at the GW web store because I have noticed an interesting trend, to say the least. And at this point in time we can only speculate on it and what it means and what's to come, but I always like to get your guys' opinion as well, and of course, as always, I will give you mine. So we're going to be taking a look at the scenery and terrain on Games Workshop's website. If you are new to the channel and enjoy videos like this, daily reactions, reviews, news, painting, modeling, conversion, magnetization, tutorials, make sure to like and subscribe. It's absolutely free, really helps out the channel. And now we do videos every single day for Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, Horus Heresy, pretty much all of the GW games. So if we just kind of take a look here, we see there are 64 different results. All I did was just type in terrain. So it pulls up scenery and terrain, obviously like the 40k and fantasy or like Sigmar equivalents. There's also like a bunch of necromunda stuff in here, some Lord of the Rings stuff as well. And then I just went ahead and sorted it based on like price, high to low. So we're just going to kind of take a look here. This was just a random special edition set, all the tau stuff, and then, the boards in there. There is still one for like the cargo thing. It's a big bundle with the fortress, essentially just a bunch of that same kit there. Here we have a tree bundle, a building bundle. So most of those are just like random bundles. Here we see the actual battle sanctum. That is a cool piece of terrain. That is from the Sector Imperialis, like type terrain. So we'll see there's obviously like a few different types of terrain that GW had released over time. That's Sector Imperialis. So keep in mind that, and then what else is available from that range as well. And then here we see the Ravaged Lands. This is basically just the two halves of the terrain from the warcry set. So this one is really weird. We saw with all the Kill Team box sets, when GW released the terrain separately, they release all the terrain with the board in a single set for $112. So these two sets combined, the Varanite Siphon Camp and the Pit Dredger Camp, combined together are the terrain from one warcry set. So they literally took the terrain from a warcry set that cost $210. They divided it in half and then sold it for, $224. Now, if you bought this how it is, you would end up with two boards. If you bought the warcry box set, you would only get one board. But if you would get all of this terrain in it, you would get, obviously one of the token sheets if you bought the box set, not two of the token sheets like we would get one with each here. But then you also would get, the rule book, the book for the actual warcry set itself, two war bands that are roughly like $60 a piece, dice, cards. Like there was just a bunch of other stuff that came in it. So essentially, this is a terrible deal. Now, when we see the Kill Team box sets and they do it, most of the Kill Team box sets are roughly $200, and then they take the terrain out of it and sell it for $112. But all the terrain is included in that single $112. They don't split the terrain in half and then sell it for $112 and $112. So very interesting. They've taken this route on Warcry. Now this is not something that just happened overnight. It's been like this for a couple months. Just very, very strange that they would figure this Warcry terrain is just such a good deal that we're only going to give you half of it, as opposed to the starter set. So interesting choice, obviously, but worth note. So then next we have the Statos Pattern Extended Hab module. This is like a bigger version of the one that came in the Necromunda set. So this is not available anywhere else separately. $110 for that, obviously overpriced in my opinion. Here we have the Warhammer Command Edition Battlefield Expansion set. So this is all of the terrain, the new style that came in the Warhammer 40k starter set. So if you bought the starter set for $185, you get all this terrain, plus the rule book, plus two, starter armies for Necrons and Space Marines. So that is all the terrain from that set. And again, this is a different style. This is the most recent kind of like Games Workshop terrain style. It's sort of a combination between the Sector Mechanicus and the Sector Imperialis. So it sort of blends the two together so it can all kind of use on the same board without looking out of place. So then we have the Zone Mortalis Gang Stronghold. That is obviously some Necromunda terrain. It's great. I love this. It's awesome. Then we have the Zone Mortalis Columns and Walls. Again, some more of the Necromunda stuff just available separately. Then we see the Battlefield Manufactorum Sanctum Administratus. Again, this goes right in line with the new style stuff for the 40k set. And when I say new style, at this point in time, it's a couple years old. It's like the new edition with Indomitus that came out, but this was the terrain that came with that, or like was introduced with that. Then we see some of the Mechanicus stuff in this Galvanic Magna Vault. So far we've seen one item for Sector Imperialis, one item for Sector Mechanicus, and then, you know, the box set, and then one of these for like the kind of blend. And then we have the Thanos platforms and walkways. This is some of the stuff from the new Necromunda starter set. Here is the Thanos pattern hab module. That is also a piece from the Necromunda starter set. So now we've seen, you know, basically 3 pieces from Necromunda, that starter set for the Ash Waste. It's like the extended hab module, the regular hab module, and the accessory bits. And then we've seen that some of the Zone Mortalis stuff and the Gang Stronghold is still available. So far we see much more terrain for Necromunda than anything else. Rohan Watchtower, again, a little bit more for the Lord of the Rings. Tidewall Shield Line was a piece of that Tau terrain. Zone Mortalis floors. And you'll understand here in a minute why I'm going through all this and why I'm looking at them, and then I'm going to talk about this. So now here's our first piece of Sigmar terrain that we've seen so far. This is the Realmscape Cleansing Aquila. And this is obviously from the new Thondia stuff, and then available separately, clearly. And then we have the Necromunda Zone Mortalis platforms and stairs. That's like the last bit of the Zone Mortalis stuff here. And then we have, again, Goblin Town. This is for Lord of the Rings. Here's some cool woods. Obviously could be used in 40k, but meant more for like Sigmar or whatever. Very nice trees, by the way. And then we see some of our fantasy stuff starting to show up, or our Sigmar stuff. Dominion of Sigmar Ruins. This is basically just some scattered terrain. Cool stuff. And then we see all of, like, we'll notice the 40k and the Sigmar pieces that are like specific to different factions. So the Webway Gate has been out of stock, or in and out of stock, for a long time now, and it is good, and there wasn't a lot floating around out there, but not so many that it should still be out of stock, unless they're like actually just not making them or haven't been making them this whole time, which probably is likely. The Incarnate, I'm not sure why he's in the train. He did come in the Gur set, but technically that is a model. And then we have the new Magmadroth Ruins, again, brand new Thondia stuff. And then look at this. The Realm Shaper engine, that's like your like Lizardman, Saurus, or I always mix up like the old fantasy names and the new names, but you know, that's basically the Lizard Sigmar set. Then we have the Etheric Vortex, Gloomtide Shipwreck. You know, this is for like your Night Haunt. And then we see the Bad Moon Loon Shrine. That's for like your you know, goblins. And we notice these are all gone, out of stock, temporarily, it says. And then we have our containers. We have our Convergence of Doom. That is like the Necron themed piece for 40k. We have the individual trees, not like the bundle pack. And then we see the Bone Type Nexus. Again, another one of the themed Sigmar pieces that's gone. We have the Noctilith Crown. That's like the Chaos one for 40k. Arguably, you could use that in Sigmar too, I guess. Hammerfall Bunker, Tidewall Drone Port. These are like the themed, you know, Talon Space Marine pieces. That's Mechanicus. Or, I'm sorry, Titanicus, rather. And then we see a couple more pieces of terrain for 40k here. This is obviously the Nurgle themed piece. This is the Orc themed piece. And then we have a second piece from the Sector Mechanicus set. So we've only seen 2 pieces still available from the entire Sector Mechanicus line. We've seen 2 pieces available from the... No, I'm sorry, 1 piece available from the Sector Imperialis line. And then a couple pieces / bundle from the new 40k kind of combination line. And then again, we see a random Blood Bowl team, makes no sense. Obviously in the wrong category. The Rohan House, the Rohan Lake Town House. You know, we're getting a pretty good idea what's going on here. Then the Fane of Slaanesh, that's the Slaanesh Sigmar piece. Here's the Herdstone, that's the Beastman piece, out of stock. The Charnel Throne, that is the, what is that one? Not Osiarch Bone Reapers, we already did that one. This would be, I guess, Nagash one. And then here we have the Magmic Battleforge. That is for the Kharadron Overlords. And then we see our second piece of Sector Imperialis stuff. And this is literally just some like basic ruins. I mean, this is literally scattered terrain. You can't even build really anything out of these pieces. Then we see the Fuculent Fesulent. I don't know how to actually say that, but definitely not a swear word intentionally. Narrow Fesulent. I don't know. Feculent. And then we have the Great Maw Pot. So obviously, you know, we're just seeing these themed pieces. Most of them are out of stock. Here's the Skull Altar. That is obviously a Cornate one. A little bit more of the random stuff here. Necromunda Barricades. So that's it. That's all the terrain GW has right now. So pretty much 75% of the themed pieces are out of stock. All of your generic Sigmar stuff is no longer available. The only stuff you can just buy, and when I say generic, I just mean like not faction specific. The only stuff you can get now is the trees, which are awesome. The new Magmadroth Remains, And then the other new piece from that same set, the fountain. And then here's some scatter terrain, the time-worn ruins. This is the exact same trees again. That's the cleansing aquila, the new piece. But I mean, all of the old Sigmar terrain is completely gone. Like, there's tons and tons of other Sigmar terrain that was offered over the years, and it's all gone. I mean, we still have a couple pieces from the warcry stuff, but there's not even like a lot of new stuff to replace the old stuff. Now, obviously, we just got Warcry Heart of Gur that has a bunch of new stuff in it. That will eventually be offered separately. But yeah, very, very restricted. So we can see they're obviously getting rid of or getting ready to transition into some new Sigmar pieces. We don't know. And now what about 40k? 40k, we see the Imperialis Battle Sanctum and the Scatter Terrain Ruins, and that's it. You know, for the Sector Imperialis, and then for the Sector Mechanicus, we saw this piece and one other piece, the Sacristian Forge Shrine, and then this is kind of what blends the two sets together. This is just parts from this kit offered separately. Actually, this might be slightly different. I think this may be slightly different, but essentially it's the same aesthetic. And then again, we have the necromunda, like new Ash Waste stuff, and the necromunda Zone Mortalis stuff, including like the fort. But that's it. I mean, like, most of the terrain that GW has offered over the last, 5 to almost 10 years now is gone. And they haven't, replaced it with a bunch of new stuff. So, what is my thesis? What is my, theory on this? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what they're planning. You're no longer able to get a lot of those terrain pieces, and there's not really a lot here to replace them. So I don't know if GW is just trying to pull back on terrain in general, or if they're going to have a certain amount of terrain, but it's just going to come in the box sets. So that's the appeal. Is if you want the new terrain, you got to buy the big boxes, but it's not going to be offered in all these little expansion pieces. I don't know. Very, very strange. I know terrain is heavy. It takes up a lot of space. And the amount that they charge for it compared to the equivalents in miniatures is very, very low. If you get this piece right here, this is 1, 2 sprues right there, 3. That's 4 total sprues right there. And for that 4 total sprues, they're charging $60. There's a lot of Space Marine kits, just general Space Marine kits, where it's 1 sprue and it's $60. So, and these are heavy, thick sprues with loads of plastic on them. Now, I'm not defending GW and saying that the plastic costs a bunch of money and that's why they're... It's just the fact of the matter is it's expensive to ship a big box with heavy stuff in it with a bunch of sprues, and you can sell, how many of these to equivalent the amount of profits that you get from selling a single Space Marine sprue for $60 in a tiny little box. I mean, just making some connections here. So, what does it mean? Probably GW says, hey, we're not making a bunch of money off this terrain, so why should we stock all this? Why do we have so much terrain that we offer? Let's just put it in the big boxes and incentivize people to buy those instead of offering it separately. Now, obviously, we saw the new stuff for Thondia came in that Thondian Strongpoint set or whatever, and it was $200 and something, and you got the terrain, and it was a slightly better deal. But the fact of the matter is, you can't even buy the regular stuff from that starter anymore. So now you can get the Cleansing Aquilith, and you can get the Magmadroth Ruins, and then obviously the Kronspine Incarnate came in that set too, but isn't terrain. There's 2 other pieces that come in the starter set that normally come in that Thondia set as well, that are not included here. They're no longer even offered separately to purchase. So, I mean, again, I don't know exactly what's going on, but it looks like GW is making executive decisions to basically carry less terrain. Now, I don't know if they're only carrying less terrain because, they're getting ready to replace it with something new. I don't know if they're carrying less terrain because they're not making as much money off of it. I think it's pretty obvious, just with the basic little 2 seconds I spent explaining it, that they're not going to make nearly as much money off terrain. If they have to sell you 4 sprues for $60 or 3 sprues for $60 versus just 1 half sprue for a lot of the elite infantry, etc., obviously they're going to make way more money on that because they're going to save money on shipping because of weight. They're going to save, space storing it. They're going to save plastic that goes into it, etc., etc. So lots of good points why. So now here's the starter set from Sigmar, the Extremis starter set, $185 for that. And we see there's these two pieces that are basically like the ruins, and then there's the big statue, and then there is the Nexus siphon. All of these pieces used to be available separately. You used to be able to buy all of these separately for, I think, like $60 each. Might have been 50. Now none of them are available separately. So the only way to get this terrain, again, in the box set now. So that is very interesting. And then there was that Thondian Strong Point. That is still available for now, but is this a permanent part of the range, or is it just not selling? I would say it's not selling. It was clearly priced way too expensive. Again, this has those two pieces in it, and then it has the Cleansing Aquilith, the Magmadroth remains, the Kronspine Incarnate, and then one of those statues. $220 for this. Again, is this only available because it didn't sell out? I would say yes. This sold horribly. Nobody bought it because it was just way overpriced, and honestly, this is pretty weak sauce. Now, if you were going to purchase all these items individually at the time, you know, let's say $50, $50, $50, that's 150, plus 60 and 60, that's 270, and then 75, that's 345. So if you look at it as retail value, 345 versus 220, sure, it's a good deal, but, you know, arguably, which I don't even know if anyone would argue, it's more just a fact, these are overpriced. I mean, the Kronspine Incarnate for $60, whatever, maybe, but the Magmadroth remains, $60, that's a stretch. And then Cleansing Aquilith for 75 versus the Heart of Gur set. Pull this one up real quick. Heart of Gur set, $230. And, you know, look at what terrain comes in this. And I'm not trying to like sell anybody on this. You don't have to go out and buy it. I'm just trying to make a point that obviously there's some weird stuff going on with the terrain. I mean, this is a lot of terrain in a $230 set. So if you were going to buy the Cleansing Aquilith and you were going to buy the Magmadroth remains, that's 75 and, you know, 60 right there. So that's the better part of this box. Now this is also, you know, obviously a starter set. So it comes with, you know, your rule book, your book for the set, the cards, 2 warbands, all their cards, all the terrain, the board, and the tokens, and the dice. I mean, everything you need to play. So, again, it's not really like a clear-cut, you know, deal, but, I mean, this terrain is, like, really nice. And eventually it will probably be offered separately. Now, the real question is, when it's offered separately, is it going to be 112 for half of this terrain? And there's going to be 2 sets of 112 each, like we see with the previous Warcry box set? Is it going to be, you know, something different we've never seen before? You know, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I can only speculate based on this. But to tell you the truth, it seems rather strange at this point in time, at least to me, what's going on with the terrain. It seems to me, and, you know, it's really not that strange. It's more just like picking up on a trend happening in real time without it being like, you know, publicly announced or anything like that. But in my opinion, it's pretty clear, you know, what's going on. GW doesn't make a lot of money off the terrain relative to the miniatures, so they're getting rid of a bunch of the terrain. And if you want to get the terrain, you know, pick it up in the big box sets where you'll always be able to get it, at least, you know, while those big box sets are available. But they're not going to be offering all of these individual box sets all the time, you know, to just have massive amounts of terrain like on hand or in stock or, you know, available at given times. So again, you know, that's my speculation. You know, you guys can let me know what you think. Obviously open to opinions. If you know some insider info or you have a little thesis of your own, I'd be glad to hear it. But again, seems to me like, you know, it's pretty obvious, I think, that, you know, GW does not make nearly as much money off terrain. It takes up a bunch of room. It costs a lot of money to ship it. And, you know, it's big and bulky. And how well does it even sell in comparison to regular kits? Probably not all that well. So the truth is, I think this is probably more of what we're going to see going into the future, where there's less and less terrain available, and as new stuff comes in, old stuff's going to go out. That's my guess. Does it mean you should just like FOMO out and go buy up all the terrain as quickly as you can? No, I'm not saying that by any means. But, you know, it's worth paying attention to if there are some key pieces of terrain that you want now or you may want into the future. Might be worth picking them up because in all likelihood, they're probably not going to be available, you know, for that much longer or, you know, just going into the future. So anyway, let me know what you think. You know, a little bit of speculation, but it definitely seems like GW is making some big changes. Obviously, they're doing it for a specific reason. We know what that reason is. For money. That's what GW does stuff for. They're a company. There's nothing wrong with that. They're all about making money, maximizing shareholder profit. That's their job. So by all means, that's great from their aspect. But as a gamer, as a player, as a hobbyist, etc., a fan, you know, whatever, it's worth paying attention to in case you do want some of that stuff. Because we all know once it's no longer available, you know, the prices on this stuff go through the roof. And is this going to end up being what we see happen to Heart of Gur? They split the terrain in half and sell it for 112 each half? I doubt it. And why do they do that when the, you know, stuff that comes out in 40k, or I should say Kill Team, why do they do that when the Kill Team stuff, you get all of it for 112, but for some reason with Warcry you only get half of it for 112 when the box sets were like the same price? And I think the Orc Shantytown is still available. I can't remember what it's called. Is it called actual Shantytown? Killzone? Octarius Killzone? There we go. See, so that should probably be in the terrain section anyway. And I've been through and, you know, see what is and isn't available in the terrain section. That's 112. This is the whole entire terrain board that came with the Octarius set, which was 200 when it came out. So why is all this 112? But for the Warcry stuff, it's 224 for the equivalents, the one box worth of terrain. Very, very strange, especially since Warcry is not that popular. You would think that Warcry, Kill Team, and Necromunda as skirmish games would be good entry points for people to get in for a relatively cheap price. But for whatever reason, it seems like lately they have been priced through the roof. Like, for instance, having that Ash Waste box at $300, huge mistake. Putting the Heart of Gur Warcry set at $230 when, you know, all the other sets have been less than that. When, you know, they just put out the new, you know, obviously we have the new Kill Team set coming out, Into the Dark. It's an indoor setting, so the terrain's a little bit different, but that's only coming in at, you know, $210, which is great. That's a great deal. I'm happy for it. But it seems strange to price Warcry higher when clearly there's much, much less people interested in playing, you know, in the fantasy setting versus the 40k future setting. So, you know, if you otherwise put Warcry and Kill Team on the same level, you know, they're essentially the equivalents, one for Sigmar and one for 40k. Which one would be more popular? Obviously Kill Team, because 40k is substantially more popular than Sigmar. So very strange. Maybe they're trying to make up for the lack of sales with higher prices. Maybe there's something else going on that I haven't thought of, but I'm definitely curious to hear your guys' opinion. So we can go ahead and wrap it up there. Games Workshop up to something fishy. What exactly is it? I'm not sure. You let me know if you figured it out, though. I always like to hear from you guys in the comments. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure to like and subscribe. Share with your friends. All that good stuff really helps out the channel. If you are in the drawing or the giveaway, I'm going to let it go for like one more day, just because it's been like astonishing how many people have chimed in and just how ecstatic everybody is. So I'm going to let it go for another day and let it rack up some more likes so I can give away some more Kill Teams. So I was going to cut it off today and just do it this video and do a drawing, but people are still hot on it. I'm still getting tons and tons of people trying to enter in. So I'm going to let it go for like another day or whatever. And, you know, when it starts to taper off a little bit and nobody's really interacting with it, and it looks like we're topped out, you know, we're not close to being able to give away another team or whatever, I'll call it then. I'll, you know, put a comment at the top and let everybody know that if you're watching it from here on out, the entry time is over. And then we'll do like an actual video where we pick them at random. We'll go through the comments. I'll show off, you know, which ones I'm going to select, and then exactly what you need to do just to get me your address and everything so I can send out your free stuff if you win. But that's it. If you liked the video today, if you enjoy daily reactions, reviews, news, painting, modeling, conversion, magnetization, tutorials, if you're into Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, or some Horus Heresy, make sure to like and subscribe. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.